welcome to my channel. This channel is going to be about baking, and every week I'm gonna pick a different recipe and I'm gonna try it out. So whether it's a fail or it's spectacular, you will get to see it with me. So today I'm gonna make a chocolate cake with a peanut butter buttercream frosting, and Reese's cups are gonna be in between each layer and on top with a chocolate ganache drip. I've never done a drip cake before, so we'll see how this goes. So we're gonna start with our dry ingredients. So I'm gonna start with 1 cup of flour. So here we go. I'm sorry, it's not 1 cup of flour, it's 1 3/4 cup. So in this cake today, I am going to actually be baking it on the oven and not, or on the stove and not the oven. So I've done 1 cake before on the stove and it turned out pretty good. So I'm gonna try it again. Okay, so I got my flour. All right, the next thing that we're gonna add is 2 cups of sugar. And then sometimes you'll see me use my KitchenAid mixer, and sometimes I might just whisk the cake together. Today I'm mixing it into a mixing bowl, and I'm just gonna whisk together the ingredients for the cake. Later on, you'll see me use my KitchenAid mixer for the buttercream frosting. So I'll have that out much later. All right, so I got my 2 cups of sugar. Okay, the next thing I have is my 3/4 cups of cocoa powder, which is a very hot commodity right now during this quarantine. It was very hard to find. Okay, and then half a teaspoon of baking soda. This cocoa powder smells so good. I'm gonna do 2 1/4 teaspoons of baking soda. All right, that's done. Baking soda is done. Next, we're gonna do a half a teaspoon of the baking powder. So we're gonna do half a teaspoon of my baking powder. Okay. Next, we have 1 teaspoon of salt. And I'm gonna whisk together the ingredients. Right. So I'm gonna whisk together my dry ingredients, just get them nice and mixed. So I'm gonna show it to you. So this is what it looks like right now. And I'm also heating up some water that we're gonna add on, because the hot water helps with the cocoa and gives it that flavor. There we go. So now my dry ingredients are all whisked together, and I'm going to do my wet ingredients. Okay, so the first thing that I am going to add is 1 cup of milk. Put it right to my bowl. There we go. And then I'm gonna do 1 1/2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. In the comments below, please leave a recipe that you would like me to try to make. So I love to find recipes on Pinterest. I've had people order cupcakes from me and they send me a picture, and then I try it, and then usually sometimes it might take me a couple times before I get it perfect. I'm a perfectionist, so I like it to look the way people want it to look and the way I want it to look. So yeah. I would love suggestions on what you would like me to make next week. So I'm doing a half a cup of vegetable oil. I could do vegan. I've made vegan cupcakes before, so anything that you would like to see me make, I will try it. Vegetable oil. Okay, and then I'm gonna add in 2 eggs. And I'm waiting for my water to heat. And then I'm gonna go ahead and get the hot water ready. So the last thing to add to my mixture here is the hot water. But before I add the hot water, I'm gonna go ahead and mix all the ingredients together. So it will be, the consistency will be a little thicker, and then once I add in that hot water, it's gonna get a lot more liquidy. Get all the sides. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. So this is what a mixture looks like now. So see how it is, I'll show the whisk. So see how it's very thick. Now I'm gonna add that 1 cup of hot water, and we're gonna see how it changes. All right, so now I am mixing in the hot water. So we're gonna see how the consistency changes. So I'm gonna make a few layers of this cake. My goal is to have 2, but I'm gonna see if I can make 3. I only have 1 cake pan, so I have to make 1 cake at a time, but that's okay. Last time I made a double layer cake and it worked out perfect. So you're gonna see here in a minute what is very liquidy. So here is my batter, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna hold the, so before the cake batter was like stuck in the whisk, but now it's like that. So it kind of looks soupy, but that's exactly how it's supposed to look. And I'll put in the description my recipe that I'm using. All right, so that's done. I'm gonna go ahead and get my cake pans ready. All right, so I have my cake pan right here. I have a piece of parchment paper on the bottom, so that way the cake does not stick to the pan as much, and it's nice and greased and ready to go. So I'm just gonna do 1 final little whisk, make sure it's all good to go. I'll show the cake when it's in the pan. All right, so I have the cake. I just put the cake into the pan, so I'm just gonna show it to you, and then I'll show you how I am going to make it onto the on the stove. So here is my pan with my cake in it, and then I'm gonna bring you over to my cooking workstation. So use the burnt parts in there. That was a failed attempt at making a cake on a stove before. Now I learned from that, and we're doing it differently this time. So I put a little steaming stand there, and we're going to put the cake pan in there. So I'm just letting this heat up for 5 minutes on the stove before I put the pan in. All right, so if you are making it the way I am making it, just be careful when you put your cake into the pan, because the pan is going to be hot. So I have a couple more seconds before I'm gonna pop this thing in. So I'm gonna put it in for about 20 minutes, and then I'm gonna take the cake out, and then I'm gonna refill the cake. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put my cake into the pan and then set the timer for 20 minutes. All right, so what I'm noticing is my pan is a little lopsided, so I'm just adjusting that to make it so the cake's not lopsided as well. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and gonna cover it for 20 minutes, and we'll be back to check on it. All right, so I really hope this way works, because last time I tried it, I watched a YouTube video, and the person in the video had me stack my pans and put similar situation here, but they had me use water and beans to heat it up, and it took 6 hours to bake that cake. But it still tasted great, but I do not want to spend 6 hours baking this cake today. So let's cross our fingers at 20 minutes. We'll see. All right, a little update here. I'm going to go ahead and show you what the cake looks like so far. All right, so it's actually looking pretty good. Last time at this point, like I have about 9 minutes left. At this point, last time I baked a cake on the stove, it was still very liquidy, so I am actually pretty proud of myself. All right, so the cake is actually cooking a little faster than I anticipated, so I don't think it's actually gonna take 20 minutes. Right now it says 6 minutes left, but I'm gonna check it in about 3 more minutes to see how much longer, because it looks like the whole outside is fully baked. Just like a little portion of the center is a little gooey still. So I'm just gonna wait 3 minutes and then I'm gonna check it. So let's see what happens. All right, so it's been 3 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and check it. Normally people use, you know, a toothpick, but you know, we don't have any. It's quarantine right now. So what I'm gonna do is use whatever I have. Looks like I'm gonna use a butter knife because, you know, quarantine. All right, so I just did the test, and yes, it's not fully baked yet, so I'm gonna go ahead and let it wait for 3 minutes. All right, so time is up. I'm gonna go ahead and check the cake one more time to see if it's done, and if it comes up, the knife comes up clean, that means that the cake is done and it's ready to go onto my cooling rack. And it's clean, so I'm gonna go ahead and take it out very carefully. This time I'm gonna wear oven mitts because it is very hot. Always want to protect your hands. Go. And all right, so I will show you that cake as soon as I take it out. All right, so here is the cake. Came out so good, and I already have the second one in. So this originally was supposed to be a 3-layer cake, but I decided to just make it 2. All right, so I just finished the second cake, so I'm just letting this cool out a little bit before I take it out of the pan. And then over here, I have my cake on this cool spinny thing I got off Amazon, so I can ice it. And you hear my daughter in the background, but that's okay. So I'm gonna even this cake out in a little bit before I put the icing on, and you're gonna see how I make the buttercream. All right, so I'm gonna show you how to make the peanut butter buttercream frosting. So the first thing you need is 2 cups of unsalted butter. So a lot of times buttercream recipes that I've used have called for unsalted butter, but this one calls for salted. And then you're gonna get your peanut butter, and we're gonna do 1 1/4 cup of the peanut butter. My first time using peanut butter in an icing, so I've done peanut butter cakes before, but never icing. Okay, so I just put together a mixer, so I'm ready to mix up my peanut butter and my butter. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you how that's done. So you wanna get this nice and creamy, so you're just gonna beat this until it's creamy, and then we're gonna add in that powdered sugar. And the butter, you want it to be room temperature because then it's harder for you to mix. You do not want it just out of the fridge. So now I'm going to go ahead and add in our powdered sugar. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is this recipe calls for 9 cups of powdered sugar. So I'm gonna add in half of my powdered sugar right now, and then mix it a little bit, and then I'm gonna add 1 to 2 teaspoons of water just to see how I want my consistency to be. You can choose to either add water or milk. Sometimes even a heavy whipping cream. I've had recipes that have called for that. So I'm gonna go ahead and start adding in the powdered sugar. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and mix up my powdered sugar and peanut butter mixture. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the mixer here. Portion the water out already. There we go. So the consistency actually is picking up pretty good. I love it. So I added about 4 cups of the powdered sugar, so I'm going to go ahead and add, 5 cups, I'm going to add 4 more. As you can see, it's very dry right now, but I did put the water in, so it should pick up a little bit once I speed up the mixer. I'm gonna go ahead and add more of the water. Sorry for the shaky camera, I'm doing this by hand. And I'm trying to measure at the same time. But this icing, it smells really good. Oh. Making the icing is my favorite part. Alright, so now it's time for me to put the frosting in between each layer, which we're only doing 2. So I've already kind of started it, so I'm just going to kind of pat it down. The other cake is still cooling, so I'm just going to do this one while that one's cooling. And I'm a multitasking mama, so I'm making dinner and doing this at the same time. It smells so good. And then I have chunks of, here's these cups that I'm going to go ahead and put into the cake and then just kind of sprinkle around, and then I'm going to press them down so they go into the icing. And then after you press them down, you're actually going to do another layer of the buttercream icing just to kind of cover them up. So I'm pressing them into the icing. Okay, so it should look something like that. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and add my second layer of, again, I'm making dinner and doing cake at the same time. Alright, and I'm just going to go check my other layer and see if it's cooled enough for me to put up. Alright, so I went ahead and I added in the second layer, so now I'm going to go ahead and ice it. It definitely, this side is messed up, but I think once I do the drip, I can cover that up. And I can always cover it up with piping. So it's not perfect. Again, I'm trying. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is make the chocolate ganache for the drip effect. So I'm just getting my heavy. So I have heavy whipping cream and then I have to buy chocolate chips, semi-sweet. I'm just going to add a little bit at a time just because I didn't really measure. I did a little more than what the recipe called for. So you want to make sure it's hot so it melts, and then you just start whisking. Okay, so I'm just going to show you real quick what it looks like now that it's done. So, looks pretty good. You could test out the thickness by just doing this, so looks pretty good. Let's see, should I taste it? Alright, so because I don't have the little bottle that everyone always uses, I'm going to use a spoon. I just watched a whole video on how to do this, so let's hope I get this right. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a little bit of touch-up spots. Okay, and then I'm gonna do a spin on the bottom. So I'm just gonna do a spoonful and kind of like you're putting sauce on a pizza. Okay, so I'm going to show you the top, and then I'm going to actually put a little bit of piping work on here. Okay, so appears from this angle. It actually looks better than I thought. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and get my piping bag ready. Alright, so I have my piping bag, and this is the built-in 1M. This is my favorite one to use, so I'm gonna kind of play around with how I want to do this. I have enough to do on the bottom, so I'm just gonna, nothing too fancy, I'm just gonna kind of go around the bottom. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna take a whole Reese's cup and I'm breaking it in half. And then I'm just gonna kind of place it in between each of the little dots that I did. Okay. Okay. So now I'm just going to take the remaining ones and kind of crush them. I'll put this, since I filled the whole top, I'm just going to put like it on the sides here a little bit, and then fill it in with chocolate chips. I'm just gonna hit it. Okay, and then I'm just gonna place them on the icing that I put on the bottom. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and show you one final spin of this Reese's cupcake. I actually don't think it looks too bad. I definitely did better than I thought. Besides it being a little lopsided, but I think the icing kind of covered that up. I definitely wish I had that third layer in there. I think it would have made the drip detail look a lot better. Yeah, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment of what you'd like me to make next.